When I was looking at tiny homes, this one drew my eye because it has a rounded roof, so it gives it that aesthetic appeal. I've moved this tiny all over Washington. This is my cheapest tiny home parking spot by far. I love my tiny home so much that I had to build my cat a catio so she could have her own version. The difference between my rent for the land and a rent in town is about $500 a month. So I end up saving about $6,000 a year just because I own the tiny house. One of my favorite changes I made in this tiny house is switching from Hi, I'm Katie, and this is my tiny house that I call the Tiny Tree. I was a teacher and then COVID hit, and so I was teaching online anyway, and I decided I didn't want to be a renter anymore, and owning a tiny home was a way that I could be able to move my home while I'm still deciding where I wanted to settle down. I found this home both on Facebook Marketplace and on tinyhouselistings.com. So I reached out to the owner and I decided right after I viewed it that this was the house that I needed. Since I've moved my tiny house a couple times, I've spent a lot of time looking for parking spots online and through word of mouth. Moving the tiny home is an exciting process. I used a company each time I moved the tiny house. All my moves were really successful and we never had any major issues or drawbacks to it, so ultimately it was a pretty painless process. I've been parked here in Bellingham for just over a year and a half. I live in this tiny house solo with my dog and my cat. It gets super cozy in the winters with them, so I love sharing the space with my pets. So some of my favorite parts of living tiny have been the flexible lifestyle as well as the cheaper rent. Since I own the tiny home, I only pay rent for the space, which includes water and power hookups. That has been a really nice way for me to save money over the past couple years. So when I first decided to go tiny, there were a couple people in my life who asked questions, but a lot of people who understand me know that I'm a very outdoorsy person and love to be in control of my surroundings. So they pretty much supported me going tiny and have loved watching my journey over the years with the tiny house. My students love to hear me tell my stories of the tiny house, and so it's been a cool way for my students to understand that not everyone has to live in a house in a neighborhood. And so I think that it's opened up the minds of people around me on understanding different ways that you can live outside of just a house. It is 26 feet long and 10 feet wide with a 14-foot height there. I love my tiny home so much that I had to build my cat a catio so she could have her own version. It's a way that my cat can go inside and outside while not venturing too far from the house. I built this awning to protect us from the elements in Washington because it gets so rainy here. So I've lived in this tiny house almost 4 years, and I've learned that skirting it is the way to keep it warm in Washington. So this skirting is just made from recycled wood pallets that I found for free. And there's a tarp behind it to act as that vapor barrier, and it makes the tiny house so much warmer. So I've kept the skirting going all around the tiny. I rent the land here from the landowner who rents to about 3 tiny homes. And with everything included each month, it's about $700 a month. So this is my cheapest tiny home parking spot by far. I've moved this tiny all over Washington from the Hood Canal to Olympia and to Puyallup. And this is definitely the cheapest and most awesome spot I've had. I have a fenced-in yard for my dog, a fire pit to have fires with friends, and an awesome shed to store my bikes because we have a mountain biking area just 7 minutes down the road. So it's a really awesome place for anyone who likes to be out in the outdoors. This tiny home is awesome because it has a French door and both panels open, so I could get any big furniture inside that I wanted to. And then it's great for letting light in. The tiny itself has 11 windows, so it lets amazing light in the summer, and also I can block them with the curtains to keep it warm and cozy in the winter time. So it has a lot of perks. So that's the front side, so let me show you a bit more about the utilities and the hookups for this tiny. Here's the breaker box with all the breakers for the tiny, and it has a 5-prong RV hookup. It pulls a 50 amp, but it never really goes that high, so I plugged into a 30 amp, and that works great as well. Here's my outdoor ventless, tankless water heater, Renai, and it is hooked up to a gas system here. I have a 9-gallon gas tank that I only fill once a season. I have it all insulated because here in Washington, we know we get really cold winters. So it's all heat wrapped, any external piping, and that helps me from keeping my pipes from freezing in the winter time. All right, now that you've seen the outside, come on in and take a look around inside. All right, welcome to the inside of my tiny, and the first thing I'll show you is my living room space. So this is my living room. It has, again, that 10-foot width, so it feels super spacious in here. I do have a dog kennel that I've moved all around this space too, and it still feels like I have room to move. I have a desk that I also use as my eating area. I loved teaching here when I was teaching online during COVID and or just sitting here to eat, so it's a very flexible space. Then over here, I have one of my favorite things. It's a couch that converts down to a day bed too. So when I come home from a long day of work, I just lay it down and make it such a cozy little nook over here. Lots of storage underneath it, since in tiny homes, we're always looking for more storage. So more blankets and clothes. And I love the big window that brings in light during the sunset times, and then just gives me a beautiful look at all the trees in my area as well. And then my ladder has a cool story. When I bought the tiny, you had to move the ladder to the center to move it up, but I decided that since I'm going up and down for my cat all the time, I would move the ladder over and leave it here permanently. And so when I crawl up this loft, I have extra storage, and then my litter box and cat scratching tower for my cat to explore, and then that's how she gets to her catio as well. So this loft I use mainly for storage. This loft is great because it could be another living space too, with a cozy mattress for kids or friends to come and stay. So I love having the 2 lofts just as a way to expand that space as well. All right, so next we have my storage space here under the stairs. I built these drawers so that I could hide some of my storage. In here I store extra bedding and blankets and all my clothes. And this is my pantry drawer, so it's nice and easy to access from the kitchen. With this being such a small space, I do only heat it with my radiator heater, and I put it just here in the center, and with the fan on reverse mode, it heats the tiny super fast. So I just leave it on low all the time, and then if it gets to be a really cold night, we turn it up a little bit. But it's been a nice, cheap, and easy way to heat the tiny house. And just enjoy cozy nights in here. From here, then we go into the kitchen. Look, I didn't even buy these. This came from a student, and I was like, it's so perfect. This is my favorite part of the tiny house. The loft is above us, but it's so much space above, so even my tall friends feel comfortable in here. So this is my almost full-size fridge. I call it an apartment-style fridge. Top is a full refrigerator area, and then a freezer, open door in the bottom. Living here as a single person has tons of space in it for a couple, so it's a very nice fridge that fits this space well. And then lots of open-faced shelving. The story behind the shelving is I sourced this wood from a tree that fell down at our mountain biking area, and then had it milled up into these 2-inch slabs and sanded it and put them up here myself, so they are my favorite part of the tiny house. And then we have a 4-burner gas stove that is a really great source of all my cooking, really. I don't do a microwave in here, so I do a toaster oven that works as my oven for baking and for pizzas and all that jazz. And then awesome storage here for pots and pans and my silverware. And I feel like I have a ton of drawers for storage, and I like how everything is just right within reach, so I don't have to go too far for anything. I love the double sink, so I use one for dishes and then one for drying, and it just dries right down into the sink so I can save all my counter space, which is important in the tiny. And then right from the kitchen, we enter into the bathroom here, so we just take the little curtain to the side and come on in. Welcome to my bathroom space here in the tiny home. My favorite part is the composting toilet. I've gone through a lot of them over the years, and this is my ultimate favorite. It's called the Sasquatch, and it's truly just a fancy box for a 5-gallon bucket, but it does the job well. And then I have a diverter for the liquids to go out into the gray water, so that's been really awesome. Towel rack, windows. I have a combo washer dryer. So next up we have the shower and bath combo here. I have an awesome shower head and then a nice small bathtub that gets the job done, and it's great for when my dog needs a bath at home after our muddy plays outside. Just throw her right in the bathtub and it's all good. One of my favorite changes I made in this tiny house is switching from a stackable washer dryer to the combo washer dryer. I love the combo. It gets the laundry done really well, and then you don't forget to switch it over to the dryer. And then it opened up the space for an awesome closet for all of my clothes. And then on top I have really good storage. And this is also where I have just the garbage for the tiny house. So it all fits in the space really well here. So living here by myself, I made the decision to take off the door and just go with a curtain. I didn't love how the door opened out into the kitchen and kind of blocked off that space. So that's something that could be added back on if anybody chose to do that. I just loved adding in my cute little curtains to get the job done. All right, so now you've seen everything on the first floor of the tiny, so we'll go up the stairs to see my main loft. This is my separation door to keep my dog downstairs and just make my bed a little bit cleaner, so we can head on up the stairs. So welcome upstairs to my loft. I have a full-size bed up here, and this is also where my cat likes to sleep and hang out. And then I keep her cat food up here to keep it separate from my dog. So this is kind of like the cat area as well as my sleeping nook. But I love that if you sleep in the middle of the tiny that you do have pretty good headroom. I'm about 5 feet 4 inches and I can sit up in bed, so that's a really nice perk of this tiny too. So when I was looking at tiny homes, this one drew my eye because it has a rounded roof or a convex roof. I think the curved roof looks really cool from the inside and from the outside, so it gives it that aesthetic appeal. When I'm up here in the summer, I do open both windows and it gives it really good cross breeze and ventilation, as well as my ceiling fan moves and circulates the air all throughout the tiny. So although this one doesn't have a mini split AC unit, it does the job well with just a window AC unit and the fan, and it keeps it really cool in the summers. And then the fan in reverse mode keeps it really warm, circulating the heater air in the winters too. So another really cool feature I added is my catwalk here, so my cat can go across from this loft to the other one. Super small addition, it could be just bookshelves, but I really liked how she could just safely cross from loft to loft without having to go downstairs. So one of the perks of owning the tiny house and just renting the land is that I end up saving money over time. So the difference between my rent for the land and a rent in town is about $500 a month. So I end up saving about $6,000 a year that I would have spent on renting just because I own the tiny house. So that was a really big decision maker for me when I was deciding to buy the tiny too. So I've been living tiny about 4 years, and I don't see myself living tiny my whole life. But I think when I look back on it, being in charge of my surroundings, my environment, and just tailoring my living situation to my lifestyle has been a blessing for these past couple years. And I think that the tiny house lifestyle is for more people than they think it is.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you soon with another unique home tour.